So in the aftermath of Trump getting RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard into office, look, a lot of things seem to be triggering the Democrat establishment and corporate media. Most notably, how MSNBC seemed to be quick to dismiss anything that happened, especially when they successfully were sworn in and were acknowledged. And Trump had a few choice words for Mitch McConnell as well. See, my criticisms for RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, I think it's important for us to see what they do. But it's also important for us to see how even them getting to office seem to have triggered so many people. And all what's going to result to is MSNBC revealing its hand of not doing its job seriously, but also of people protesting and siding with Democrats and not realizing that if the Democrats were so upset about the dangers that Trump or anybody associated were going to do, they would have put safeguards in place. They would have been fighting harder for progressive policies, but they didn't. They didn't do any of that. I want to pull up this video here just in case, because we got to talk about everybody's favorite snake, Elizabeth Warren. Because Warren's the known liar.
Hey, Massachusetts, are you good? How in the hell did you end up with two pharma shills as your senators? Both of these senators have been very outspoken about RFK Jr., and we are going to do what we do best. We're going to see who's funding them, starting with Elizabeth Warren. But this is what she posted today. Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio. That's what's on the horizon if RFK Jr. becomes a secretary of HHS, and puts out this scripted video. And she even mentions how she's terrified of losing her fluoride from her water. But let's see if she really just cares about our health. She's received $491,000 from health professionals and $125,000 from pharmaceuticals or health products. Oh, and don't forget about the $108,000 from hospitals and nursing homes, for a grand total of $871,000 from the healthcare industry. And this is actually her cheapest election out of all of them. And by the way, I always get asked where I find my data. This is Open Secrets. They do an amazing job. They collect their data right from the FEC website. The FEC website looks like this. This is where all the candidates have to report what they bring in and what they spend. And then Open Secrets takes this data and puts it together, so it's easy for us to digest. And as I was digging through all of this data, there's something else that caught my attention. I found this article that said that Elizabeth Warren condemned super PACs. Now she's benefiting from one. And this article talks about this Persist PAC. And at the time, they had no idea who was funding the PAC. But now we do. Carla Jerviston gave a whopping $14.6 million to support Elizabeth Warren for the Senate. This is her, and she is a physician. Not only did she attend Stanford, her father was a professor there for over 50 years.
Interesting. How did that happen?
And to honor her father, she helped fund the construction of the new Stanford Medical Center. You know who else has ties to Stanford? Pfizer. Back in 2010, they gave a grant to Stanford saying that there's no strings attached. Put your hand up if you actually think that's true. I'm sure nobody. And the grant was $3 million to back new curriculum. But wait, there's more. Pfizer funded an independent educational grant program through, surprise, Stanford. How do all of these dots connect? Well, honestly, that's kind of difficult. As I was doing research, it is very clear that a lot has been hidden here. But this article may give us a hint. Looks like Stanford professors have been found to receive money right from big pharma companies like Eli Lilly. Why does this all matter? Funny enough, I think Dr. Casey Means has already given us the answer. She went to Stanford and was top of her class. She talks about how there was never a class about nutrition, about exercise. She simply learned a diagnosis and a pill to solve it. Because the minute that we find out that we can heal ourselves with food, think about whose bottom line is going to hurt real bad. So to summarize, in addition to all of the money that Elizabeth Warren receives through the healthcare industry, she also has some funny ties to Carla here.
It's all part of the plan to be part of that club. And in turn, how does MSNBC wrap things up? How did they talk about it?
Dr. Drew Updike, thank you very much for joining us as RFK Jr. gets sworn in to lead HHS. Appreciate it. Coming up, what we know about the abrupt resignation of the top federal prosecutor.
They don't even talk anymore about it. That's it. They just cut it off. They censor it. They only dedicate a few short seconds to that for RFK Jr. getting sworn in. Now, there's a lot of things that to be said about Trump pointing all of his people that he's pointed in, but they all helped him for his campaign. I mean, that's to be expected. But I remember that when Biden was sworn in, oh my goodness, all of his appointees were given dedicated coverage, or either that, at least a good portion of time to at least inform their audience who they were, what they were about. But never once did we ever see such open hostility. And real quick here, too, Mitch McConnell, Turtle Boy, what are you doing, buddy?
RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even. And that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators. And so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader, you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 20, 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money, take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He, was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position. So he can't love me, but he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Mitch, do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did
You think that was easy? What?
He had polio, obviously, and
I don't know. I don't know anything about he had polio. He had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now.
He even voted against Tulsi. And what's interesting, too, just to focus a little bit on Tulsi Gabbard, Kiev backtracks on Tulsi Gabbard claims. The Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation, the CCD, horrible name, has publicly recognized that it previously disseminated unverified information about Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat lawmaker who now serves as the U.S. Director of National Intelligence. Established in 2021 under Ukraine's Security Council, the center was designed to combat perceived information threats, primarily those attributed to Russia. And the news site, Santra, reported in November that the CCD took down 4 of its bulletins mentioning Gabbard from social media, including one from April 2022 that described her as someone who for several years has been working for foreign audience for the Kremlin money. Wow. A June 2024 bulletin accused Gabbard of spreading disinformation about the Ukrainian leader, Zelensky, and a February 2023 post claimed she was espousing pro-Russian rhetoric, according to the outlet. On Thursday, the center admitted to past misjudgments concerning Gabbard, who has been confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the National Intelligence Director. The statement added that in 2022 and 2023, the Ukrainian organization released content about her that had not only been properly verified and thus fell short of the center's standards. Now, 2021, 2022, 2023, who was president? I swear we had a president who was all about honor and integrity and decency in this country, all about returning to soul. And they were a Democrat. Oh, that's right. First name Joe, last name Biden. Wasn't there like a kill list too? Wasn't there like a lot of prominent commentators on the left and on the right? Comedians, actors, actresses, those that were critical of the war in Ukraine, former and current politicians. Weren't they all on like this big hit list in Ukraine? I swear that was relevant. That was front and center story news. That was things that people needed to be aware about and was ongoing and continuous. An internal investigation initiated by the new CCD head last year uncovered these errors, although the center did not want to clarify why the findings clearing Gabbard's name were not disclosed sooner. The CCD said those responsible for the inaccuracies were dismissed around a year ago and can no longer be penalized. It means they got a nice little paycheck and they left. They fled country. And that means that money, probably from USAID, dried up and died on the vine. And they realized, SpaghettiOs, we got to go, which kind of explains, too, in theory, why you had a lot of U.S. Democratic senators so up in an uproar about what USAID was doing, but also going after people like Tulsi or RFK Jr. Because, remember, Democrats were on a warpath against them during the election year of 2024. It's hilarious for me to see and for all of us to witness. And I just want to pull out some other stuff here, too, because, looking at Warren's track record, right? Top contributors from 2019 to 2024. This is from Open Secrets. Shout out to my viewing audience, of course. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. Top contributor total $39,153. My goodness. Look at all that money coming into you. Top industries, retired, education, Democrat, liberal, health professionals. Okay, you got a couple people doing that, giving you that money. Massachusetts, Google helping you out. And of course, look at this. Total raise, average. Well, you could boost up those numbers just a little bit. And of course, hey, look, you got a couple other people here donating money to her as well. You got small individual contributions. You got large individual contributions. Just throwing it out there for Warren, especially looking at the people who are all connected, all intertwined, who all have some invested interest in this. But it's just interesting seeing the overall panic. You have Warren crying on social media about RFK Jr. You have Democrats crying about Tulsi Gabbard. Hell, you got a lot of people crying. I mean, they're crying so much they might as well fill up a swimming pool, the liberal tier swimming pool. But if they were so concerned about these people, why isn't that they didn't put safeguards to protect us from environmental disasters or corruption or abuse of power? It's because these people, these Democrat senators, were getting donations from individuals that wanted to keep things the way they are because it benefits them and their checkbook and their bottom line. Now, of course, the Trump administration, there's still going to be corruption. There's still going to be abuse of power. There's still going to be madness and insanity, but it's hypocrisy at its finest. The pot calling the kettle black. And the Democrats are going to be waiting and biding their time so they can get ready for the 2026 midterm election cycle, where in turn they could tell you guys to vote for them because they're going to be better at managing things and holding people accountable. If they win the White House in 2028, they'll return back normalcy. There's no such thing as normalcy. You just have Team Red and Team Blue playing their game. I guess the only benefit that I'm getting from this is seeing people panic about Tulsi and RFK Jr., all the while ignoring the bigger problem. That is, it doesn't matter who sits in those offices. It doesn't matter who sits on the throne. Nothing's going to change because the thing is, the system is designed to be shifted around, to be turned around, and to keep all of you obedient and not question how come my life hasn't been improved, because the prices of everything still expensive. We still have the uncertainty of these wars going on. And we also have the threat of, if you're a whistleblower or if you're calling out corruption, there's a very good chance that you're going to be thrown away and locked in a cell. But oh no, let's focus about names. Let's focus about the meltdowns. And let's also focus on these politicians who want to cry and scream. Because these politicians who are crying and screaming, they're the biggest contributors for this disaster that we're in. Always have been, always will be.